Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Very excited for today's conversation. So let's jump on in. Today, we are going to be discussing from public service to private sector, navigating your career pivot. So perhaps you on the line have recently been shifting or into a private service from a public service, or maybe you're just not necessarily doing that shift, but you're making other career pivots. We want to hear from you, and hopefully, we can help you out today. Just to share with you all, here is Power to Fly's code of conduct, so you can just kind of digest that for a moment. I do like to point out that the content shared during Power to Fly's events are for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a qualified attorney. We are recording today, so we will be sending you all the recording afterwards, so no need to take notes. Feel free to turn on your camera if you would like. Otherwise, if you're eating a sandwich, want to keep that all off, no problem. And please let us know in the chat where you are joining from, and if you have questions for Destiny, you can add those into the chat as well. And tell you a little bit more about Power to Fly. We're here to help organizations attract top talent and retain engaged employees with solutions that simplify recruitment, enhance employee satisfaction, and drive long-term business success. We do lots of events, so check those all out at powertofly.com. And I'm very happy to introduce today's speaker, Destiny Molter, who's the Senior Talent Partner at Power to Fly. Destiny leverages her expertise to connect talented professionals with opportunities that align with their career goals. She's a strong background in talent acquisition and development, and we're very excited to have her expertise here. And my name is Rob Rebar, and I am the Director of Events and Marketing here at Power to Fly. And I'm joining from New York City. So, Destiny, thank you so much for being here, and let's jump on into today's questions.
Awesome. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, my first question for you, Destiny, is what are some of the biggest mindset shifts professionals need to make when moving from public service to the private sector?
Oh, good question. So, for that, I would say it's really a mindset shift. You usually have all of those skills there, but shifting from process oriented to being more results driven. So, in government roles, success is typically tied to compliance, procedure. And then in the private sector, it's usually results, efficiency, innovation. Those are typically key metrics that employees are held to. And then also, embracing agility. Private sector work often demands quicker decision making, adaptability, and being comfortable with that unknown. And then, as well as, I know people usually hate this one, but valuing self promotion. A lot of people get uncomfortable selling themselves or talking about themselves, and it's something that is really needed in that private sector. Someone who can articulate their achievements and value. I was actually in one of Power to Fly's events yesterday, I think it was. And there was a speaker talking about this, and she said she makes a card of all of her main accomplishments. And if she's applying for a job, she includes that in there. And I do something similar for the reviews. I keep a OneNote and I throughout the year track everything that I have done that was maybe exceptional or exceeding expectations or huge wins that we've had. And then I recap those. So it's kind of the same thing, keeping track of those so that you can promote yourself and getting comfortable with doing that. And then also, too, understanding that private companies exist to make profit. Money makes the world go round. So, understanding how your work contributes to the revenue, the customer experience, and of course, cost saving is essential depending on the department that you would be working in.
Thank you so much. I love so much of what you said there. I think the agility aspect is so key because one thing I have heard so many times from Power to Fly's hiring partners is they're looking for someone who might be a good fit for role A today, but they want to see if you're going to be a fit for role Z in a year, 5 years. So they want to know that you have the agility to switch and that ability and desire to also learn along the way and learn those new skills. So I think that's something great that everyone can highlight on their resume. And I love also this idea of the card that you mentioned, because I think one
Hmm.
trap that so many of us can fall into is that we're only updating our resumes or our LinkedIn or our PowerToFly profiles when we're actively looking for roles. And then we're going, okay, what did I do back then? What were
Hmm.
my achievements? So if we all take that time to make those updates when they're happening in real time, or maybe once a quarter, go in and just do a polish on your resume or your
Yes.
profile, I think that's going to be so much helpful because it's going to be fresh in your mind when you're doing it.
Exactly. A year's a long time, and you can forget so many of the great things that you did. So, not selling yourself short and making sure you remember those big things is really important.
I love that. And so a lot of people on the line might be facing challenges right now. Of course, all you need to do is kind of read the news to hear about what's happening in the public sector. So,
Yes.
what are some common challenges that people might be facing when pivoting out of government roles, and how can they overcome them? And perhaps if you're facing any of these challenges and you want to let us know in the chat, we'd love to hear from you as well.
Yes, thank you. So, a few things. I'd say translating your experience into business terms, just learning how to reframe those duties and bring business impact language. The private sector wants to see metrics, outcomes, the things that really will make a difference in their business day to day. So, just making sure that you understand how your skills translate over. And then another big one is cultural difference. The government or the public sector is usually, depends on what's going on in the government. So going to a private company, they have the ability to set the culture in their own company. So I would suggest if you are interested in working for somewhere, you research the company culture, you can connect with insiders, use tools like Glassdoor to get that real the inside employee view of how it is to work for them. And that will give you the best idea of what you're getting yourself into to make sure that if it is a huge shift, you're mentally prepared. Or if it isn't something right for you, you just continue to keep looking. And then one more I'd like to highlight would be limited network in the private sector. So if you've mainly worked in the public sector, you probably don't have that network built up. So I would suggest joining professional groups, attending industry events like this, or any of the other amazing events that Power to Fly hosts consistently. Um, and actively using LinkedIn to expand your connections. So I just being who I am and the career that I have, I challenge myself each month to meet a certain amount of connections to add to my network. And I continue to do that to make sure that it's consistently growing. But I would suggest if you all are starting now, and I would connect with your recruiters, your marketing people, the people that live on connections day to day. Our jobs are consist of meeting the right people at the right time and being able to have a far reach. So just connecting with those type of people will already get you ahead of the game as far as network reach. So that's what I would say there.
Yeah, I love that. I always say to everyone, sometimes, of course, attending an event's the best, but if you can't attend, register anyway, because, for example, Power to Fly would be then sharing, if it's a hiring-based event, we'd be sharing our information with our hiring partners, regardless of whether you attended. So obviously attending, that's better, but we know people get busy. So register anyway. We'll make sure we're expanding your network by sharing that information around. And I love some of the things you said also about the translating experience, because even if someone who's watching this or on the line might not be coming from the public sector, maybe they're coming from a career break, there's still all that great skills that you've made during that time, maybe on the PTA or working for your church or what have you, where you can then translate that to other skills that you can do. If you were doing your church's books, for example, well, then now you have those financial skills that you can kind of put into other things. And the
Yes,
other
I
thing
love
I'd
that.
love that you said too is kind of the research aspect, because I think one thing that gets really lost is that it is a two-way street when you're applying to roles. Like you want to make sure that the role is also a fit for you. Not they want to make sure that you're a fit, but
Exactly.
if neither works out, then it's not going to be good for anybody.
Exactly. I love that.
And how can a candidate best identify and communicate those transferable skills that we were just talking about that are valuable to private sector employees?
Yeah, I would start with core competencies, things like leadership, compliance, problem solving, stakeholder engagement, program management, data analytics. Those are valuable across multiple sectors. Um, reframing business language. So instead of saying, I oversaw regulatory compliance, say, ensured operational readiness and risk mitigation across multiple cross-functional teams. That will get the private sector's attention. That tells them they know how to lead a team, they're operational focused and able to drive what we need. So also, I'd say use the STAR format. If you guys haven't heard about that, that is the acronym for situation, task, action, and result. And I have a really good visual that I can share, so we can send that out too. It kind of breaks down in the interviews how much you should focus on and helps you illustrate how your skills can apply in any sector. So really taking kind of connecting the dots. So if you have a recruiter that really hasn't dealt with much of the public sector and may not know the different tasks that you're doing, translating them into, connecting the dots as to something that she would or they would understand um, that you do so they know, hey, they're qualified for the job and not overlook you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
just on
sorry.
that point, I've heard something similar for veterans, especially, right? So, like, you
Oh, yes.
using a different terminology in that in service rather than maybe in the private sector. So, but you're already doing the same thing, right? It's just
Exactly.
down to the lexicon that you're using.
Yes, just different language. And if they're not experienced in that area, they're not going to know. And then that's a missed opportunity. So just making sure that you're tailoring it for what you're looking for and leaning on those soft skills, communication, adaptability, critical thinking. Those are universal and they're highly valued across public and private sector.
Amazing. Well, and someone wants to see your template, so
Okay, yes, we'll
yeah.
send that out. It's really helpful.
And just what I'm gonna interpret Kimberly's comment as a question for you, Destiny, because I know you work
Okay.
with a lot of different kind of organizations and companies of all different sizes. Is Kimberly was saying mid-sized companies might have people might have a better shot at mid-sized companies. Does the size of the company that you're applying for kind of how does that play into maybe where people are coming from? Or does it not
So
matter?
honestly, I think that right now we're in uncharted territory. Recruiters are seeing very high volumes in applications across all company sizes. Yes, of course, if you're applying to the big four, there's probably going to be a little more competition, but I really think if employers are posting in the right spots and they're getting the attention, you could have just as much competition in the smaller companies as well.
Yeah, and from my knowledge, from my experience, sometimes those smaller companies, there's different benefits. Those smaller companies might have more workplace flexibility, so that's going to
Yes.
increase the competition there. The bigger companies have more positions, so there's a lot more to apply for. So it kind of depends. If
Yes.
you're maybe not looking for remote work or something like that, and you're really comfortable maybe at a big enterprise company that's not offering that, then that might be
Yes.
a better route to go in that regard.
If it's remote, I think that that plays a
Yeah.
whole other part because remote positions are difficult to get because everybody wants them right now.
Yeah. Love to. I'm going to get back to my questions too, but one more question from the audience for you from
Okay.
Damia was asking with your connecting to a specific quota each month, what is your networking goals you can highlight that may be useful for people making the transition?
Yeah. So when I If I'm actively recruiting, it's a little higher, but I would probably my goal's a little aggressive. I like to get 200, but I would say you can start small. 10 people, maybe say 10 a week. It doesn't have to be anything. I would pick several companies that you're interested in, connect with their HR people or connect with people in the same department, utilize your own network and the people that you've connected with because maybe they have connections outside in the public sector. So it doesn't have to be anything super aggressive, but just making sure you're making the right connections when you do. So if you're strategic about it and you like set a goal of let's say 50 for a month, then that 50 is going to connect you way further than if you would just see who's comes up and just connect. This way, if you're strategic, you're getting the marketing people, all of these HR people, sales people, all of them more than likely have made connections in the companies that you're interested in because they're trying to maybe sell them something or working in that department. So it's helping you instead of connecting to one, you might be reaching five, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And I would say if you're going the next step and you're really actively looking at a specific role right now when you're connecting, share that role ID number with whoever you're sharing. Because especially if you're connecting with a recruiter, they might be getting lots and lots of LinkedIn requests all the time. So if you say, I'm interested in this is the role, here's the number, like that person then can like look that up. Like whatever you can do to save their time they're gonna love
Yes.
you for it, right?
That's a good call out. Thank you. I can tell you from experience that will really help because and it'll save back and forth too, instead of me saying,
Mhm.
"Hey, which role?"
Yeah.
You already
We've
have
all
that
been there where
information.
we've like sent the one message and then it's a back and forth and you never hear from the good person again. So I'm in
Yeah.
favor of like trying to get them as much information off the top without like overwhelming someone, but get
Of
them that
course.
vital information. That way they have it. So that way nothing gets lost in kind of the back and forth.
Yes, and that's where you can sell yourself too. Put your little
Hmm.
card in there.
Yeah. Now, some folks on the line or who are listening to this recording might have security clearances from
Yeah.
government or public work. So how should they highlight that on their resume or during interviews?
Oh, yes. So I know myself and many other people that recruit will love you for this. Just putting it at the very top. So a lot of people have their name and then maybe different positions that they're looking for. I would put it right there. So like secret, active security clearance, top secret, whatever it may be, I would put it right at the top. So a recruiter skimming through can quickly see, hey, they have that. And I'd also include it in the jobs that you obtained it for and that you're utilizing it just so they can know where it tied back to. Um, and then also bringing it up in the interviews. Even if you are going to the private sector, some of them do require security clearance. But if they don't, it still shows a high value of integrity. So I would always bring it up because that shows them that you're able to handle sensitive data and that you just have a special touch. Not that um, anyone that doesn't have it may not be able to do that, but it gives you that leg up. So if you have it, you want to make sure that when you're selling yourself, that's one thing that you're including. Because I can not tell you how many resumes that I have scanned that didn't have it. And, it's a very niche skill set for top security clearance. And if I wasn't desperate at times, I wouldn't have reached out to people just to see if, oh, they work for this company. I bet you they have a clearance. And 9 times out of 10, they did, but they didn't put it on their application or their resume. So if I wouldn't have had that extra time to go back and just kind of open my reach, I would have missed out on a valuable candidate because they didn't include that on their resume.
Yeah, no, I yes. And again, I think it all goes back to like saving people time, right? Like if you have it
Yes.
there, you never know if you're gonna get amazing person like Destiny who's gonna take that extra step to call you. Like a lot of people might just like it's not on the paper, I'm moving on, right?
Yes. Thank you.
And a question from Isabel, kind of going back to the networking that we were just talking about, Destiny.
Yeah.
she's saying, they're saying, I like the idea of setting a number of networking goals. How do you increase LinkedIn connection request acceptance rates or engagement? Yeah, is there a kind of a trick to get, not a trick, but there
Hmm.
are tips for getting people to accept more frequently?
That's a really good question. I honestly, I think if you're a real profile, if you have been verified on LinkedIn and you send a connection request, as long as you're not spamming that person, I think that the only time people really get declined, at least in my experience, is if you're asking them something or for something in that connection request that you can put the blurb. Um, I would just say be strategic about who you are inviting and reaching out to. There are times, I think, in my earlier days when I was just a little crazier with my connection request, and I did hit that max, but I think it's like hundreds. I think the last time I hit it was many years ago, and it was like 200 requests. So um, hopefully you wouldn't be running into that, but I would say if you're adding the right people and you obviously have to be able to see them to be able to connect with them, I don't see why just anyone wouldn't accept it because we're all trying to do the same thing. We want a good network reach. You want to connect with like-minded, successful, driven people to help encourage us along the way.
I love it. And
Yeah.
speaking of a LinkedIn profile, could you walk us through what a successful resume or LinkedIn profile or Power to Fly profile looks like for someone who might be making a career transition, again, either from a public space or maybe a career break, anything transition in general, I guess.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite question, so I'll try not to get carried away. I would say, for when it comes to the resume, depending on the type of role you're looking for, I suggest to everyone to make different resumes for different positions. So, like for my background, I have about 13 years of HR and talent acquisition experience. So if I were to make a move, I'd have, several routes that I could go. So depending on if I would want to apply to a talent acquisition manager role, that resume would look really different from a recruiter role. So, being that I know we are all limited on time, I like to use AI. ChatGPT is my best friend. It literally helps so much. So I suggest prompts are what really matters when you use AI. So if you're feeding it the right prompts, it could do the work for you. So I would have AI, I would type a prompt that says something along the lines of, hey, I'm trying to apply for positions. I have several different roles that I'm interested in. Can you take my current resume and revamp it for a talent acquisition manager role? And that AI system, probably faster than you've typed the prompt, will, and also ask it for a Word document so that you can make edits if need to be after they give it to you, and you can save it. And then you can do this for every role that you're interested in so that whenever you do apply to a position, most recruiters, especially right now, a position can be posted for an hour and have hundreds of candidates that are already in it. So you want to make sure that you stand out. You want to hit those core competencies. And typically for a specific role, most of those across even the private sector companies, they're pretty similar jobs, right? So using AI helps you get that customized, and you can even do it for cover letters as well, customized approach, help making the recruiter's life a little easier and putting yourself to the head of the line because you're marking all of those boxes. Bullet points, focus on achievements, quantifiable outcomes, avoid your government jargon. You have to translate this into job titles and responsibilities that will resonate in the private sector. That AI can also help you with. And revamping your LinkedIn, professional photos, a rich headline, adding certifications, clearance levels, endorse your skills. Because especially in LinkedIn, if you're applying, it typically says like high skill match, or you only have 2 skills out of 15, or you have 10 out of 10. You want to make sure that you have your core competencies and your skills on your LinkedIn so that when you do click that job, it reads it and marks you as a high match.
I love all the things that you just said there. I would definitely go if you're using AI, definitely look it over afterwards because
Yes.
I know recruiters, yeah, obviously we want to make sure that no one has typos and things like that, but you do want that level of authenticity.
Yes.
And so definitely take a look afterwards, put that human touch on it after AI has kind of worked its magic. And I'll also say, like, maybe this shouldn't be the case, but someone like myself, I look at a lot of people's LinkedIn profiles when we're doing events. And it does make a big difference when you have a professional photo or at least a well taken photo. You don't have to necessarily go out and hire a photographer, but like it's a big difference than like if you're, with your doing your selfie like on there. Like it just
Yes.
when you're scrolling through and you just see like at least that's a really nice photo, a high definition photo. It's not blurry or low res. Like that does make a difference. Maybe it shouldn't, but it definitely, I feel like it just pops because again, people are kind of looking through a lot of this in a short amount
Yes.
of time.
For sure. Thank you for pointing that out because while AI is amazing, it's still a computer and sometimes it misses things. So you definitely want to read over the resumes and make sure that they match what you're looking for. And also, I forgot to mention using the open to work feature on LinkedIn. A
Yes.
lot of recruiters search that way as well.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, it can be disheartening because people you can send out a lot of stuff, not hear back. So
Oh, yeah.
what can job seekers do to stay resilient and confident when they're either facing rejection or just that black hole of not hearing from anybody?
Yes, I see this all too many times. Normalizing rejection is probably the biggest thing. It's a part of the journey. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. You could have the best resume. Um, don't take it personally. Just know that right now there are a ton of people searching for the same jobs. And if you think about if you're not in recruiting and you don't really know how the process works, this can kind of help put things in perspective. So let's say that I have 50 people that come through within the first hour that I posted a position. I'm going to immediately start reviewing those candidates. But let's say I found 10 rock stars. So I'm already screening them while more people are applying. And those people are continuously progressing through the process. So while I'm pipelining and getting ready to reach out to these other amazing candidates, we are ready to make an offer over here because this one candidate was just phenomenal. So these people, while they might be amazing and have all of the great qualifications and a good resume, we already found the candidate we were looking for very quickly. So everyone gets rejected. So not taking that personally because sometimes it's just the nature of the business, especially if you are going after positions that are in high demand, but celebrating those small wins. Even a small informational interview is progress. A recruiter reply is momentum. So track your progress. Um, I do want to say sometimes it is our resumes that we need to go back and make sure that we're hitting those marks. So if you've done all of the things that you know that you need to do to set you up for success for a role and you're not getting it, just go with the flow, deep breaths, lean in on support, join career groups, find a mentor, work with a coach, um, work with Power2Fly. We have a great website that can work for you, set up notifications for jobs. And I would say that too with LinkedIn. One thing I forgot to mention, you want to make sure that if you are looking for a specific job title, that you're setting that reminder up that if someone opens a position, you get a notification so you can get that resume in there quickly to avoid being the 300th person to apply for a role. Um, but circling back to the remaining resilient, but revisiting your why, reflect on why you're making the move. What has you excited about that? Let that fuel your persistence to keep you going.
Mhm. I love that. And we're going to need to wrap up in a minute or so,
Oh
but
yes,
a
sorry.
question, no problem. Just kind of related to this, Gregory's question in the chat, which was, is it better to focus on certifications and transferable skills rather than chasing specific job titles? How do you balance being realistic with staying motivated? So what would you say their destiny? Is it like better to maybe focus on some of those certifications or rather than like a specific job title or what's your thought?
So I would say find a balance with both. if you have certifications highlighted on your resume, definitely try to find jobs with that because if you have a position that requires a certification and one that just prefers it, if you have that certification, you're going to have an upper hand than someone that doesn't, even though it's a preferred skill. So I would say when I'm job searching, I'm searching companies, I'm searching industries, I'm searching job titles, I'm searching certifications that match my background. So it's really, I wouldn't say just go after one thing because you'd be selling yourself short, but I would, maybe one this week focus on job titles, next week focus on certifications and just break it down so it's not overwhelming.
I love that. And let's just leave everyone with some insights into what are some of the emerging sectors that people should watch in 2025, 2026, especially if you might be coming from that public background. Maybe you have that security clearance that we mentioned. What are some
Mhm.
of the sectors that people should be looking at and applying to?
Yes, so trends are showing, of course, AI and machine learning, cybersecurity, green tech, renewable energy, healthcare, biotech, aerospace, science. I'm sorry, space and aerospace tech, education, technology, and workforce development, especially focused on upskilling tools and remote learning. Those are huge shifts that are coming. And that you guys can all pay attention to as you continue to navigate your career change.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Destiny, and thank you everyone for joining and for your amazing questions. I hope this was very valuable. We're going to share the recording with you, so if you want to revisit any of the points that Destiny discussed, check that out in your inbox over the next couple days. But Destiny, thank you so much, and if I'm sure folks can find you probably on LinkedIn, so if anyone
Yeah.
looking for some other tidbits from you, is it okay if they reach out or where should they find you?
Yes, of course. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I shouldn't be hard to find. Just type my name in, my big face will come up.
I love it. Well, thank you. Please reach out and thank you again for being part of the Power to Fly community. Check out more of our events at powertofly.com. We have a virtual job fair coming up in May and many other hiring events, including some coming up with Elastic, with Yelp, with Moody's, just off the top of my head, Zillow. So check those all out on the site. And we'll see you all soon. Thank you for being
See
here.
ya. Thank you.
Bye.